there's nature versus nurture, isn't there?
Yeah.
So there's some
The ever ongoing debate that I have in my mind when I'm raising my children.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got 2 girls, so I'm always just wondering,
Yeah.
Do they love babies because we've given them the babies, or is there some sort of genetic predisposition to wanting to care and nurture? I don't know.
Well, yeah, no, I mean
It boggles my mind.
Yeah, no, it is interesting because
Mm.
you do see that with girls. I think I had a girl and a boy,
Okay.
and I don't think my little boy was that interested in nurturing teddy bears or dolls.
Mm.
He wasn't. He much preferred to pick up a car or or an aeroplane or anything. And I also see that with I've got grandchildren, a boy and a girl, and she's very happy to pick up the dolls and nurture them. But he's much more interested in planes, and he wasn't interested in the teddy bears or dolls or anything like that. No, it's cars and aeroplanes and rockets and.
Do you know? Before I had children, I was convinced that it was almost entirely nurture. That all of these things were just things that parents, you go to a shop with your child for the first time, and if you've got a girl, you got to go and buy a baby doll. If you've got a boy, you buy an Action Man or a car or something. I just thought it was almost entirely nurture. But now, with a little bit of experience of parenting and things, I've got much more doubt about that now, and I'm really unsure how much genetics plays a part. I think we're encouraged these days to believe that almost everything is nurture, and that I think it's part of this equality thing in that it's almost counterproductive, but we're trying to assume that everyone starts exactly the same, so that the things that are affecting how well someone ends up in their career, for example, is all due to the cultural impact, of how we raise these people, or the things that the barriers we're putting in place. I think we're encouraged to think like that for equality's sake. And I think also partly because if you start believing that certain people are born with better abilities, for example, that's a very dangerous route to go down politically. So I think we're at a bit of a junction, which is not recognising the role genetics plays, for fear of going down, perhaps we could say racist route or sexist route or whatever the characteristic you want to use is. Do you think that's something that's would you agree with that? Would you?
Yeah, and I think that goes back to, so therefore, let's try and use everybody's potential. So women, may have a sort of a nurturing potential, may be really good at mentoring people, and men may be very much more better at strategy and that type of organisation. I don't know how I've made the leap between learning to play with cars and aeroplanes and.
But these
things,
stereotypes do seem to manifest themselves.
But these are different things. I remember some years ago, somebody saying that men make better emergency doctors than women because they become less emotional or emotionally involved or emotional about it. I don't know whether that's true, and I don't know whether that continues or whether training has changed to alter that. But I think it's about, and of course there will be differences. There will be some people who can, do multiple, can overcome their emotions, or women that can overcome their emotions, and men who can become emotional. So it's not.
It's always
not
a nuance,
absolutely,
of course.
It's
a
nuance,
yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
But again, I think it's about trying to use everybody's potential in a different way. So I agree. So going back to right at the beginning, we were talking about how do we level the playing field for women, but without making men feel excluded. And I think that it's a fine balance. But it is a balance we need to think about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's and as you say, nature versus nurture. Probably before I had children, I thought, well, I wanted to give my children both the same opportunity. So, for example, riding a bike, and both were keen on riding a bike, and both learnt to ride a bike quite quickly. And they had that opportunity, and I didn't see a difference between boys and girls.
I think sometimes we can we unintentionally stifle opportunities by stereotyping girls and boys at an early age. That's what I've been really conscious of with my own parenting. But then I realise it's not just about me and my wife and how we raise. She encounters thousands of people.
Yes.
By the time she's sort of 10 or whatever the developmental kind of
that's right.
cut off you want to.
And people react to children differently.
Of course, yeah.
You're right.
It's a minefield, really.
Is.
The nature versus nurture thing for me.
Yeah.
It's something I ponder on all the time. I also think it's not a coincidence that the majority of primary school teachers are female, for example, and the majority of building site workers, construction workers are men. Some would argue that that's because of years and years and years of cultural expectations that has happened like that, and others would like to try and level out those playing fields, I'm sure, as well. But I think there comes a point where, as you say, you don't want to push people into doing anything specifically because we're trying to level out some sort of quota. It's about giving people the freedom to choose for themselves. And yet those ones are really specifically tricky problems, particularly the building site thing, because imagine a woman going to work on a building site that's almost all men. How will they feel in that workspace? So there is that boundary that's always going to be there. So I don't know. As I say, it's a minefield for me. We're going slightly off topic.